Okay, thank you all. So at this moment, I would like to invite Ms. Naumani, lead and implementation for implementation and capacity building, to formally introduce our esteemed speaker and take the session forward. Over to you, ma'am. Naumani, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, all. Dhanlakshmi has already introduced me. So I welcome all of you for this session. The today's speaker for this webinar is our very respected Joint Secretary, Mr. Viswanathan Ganeshan, sir. He's a Joint Secretary of Amar Seva Sangam. He's also worked as Chachaka Content Company Secretary, and he is a MS graduate for more than 40 years of experience he has in finance, technology, and management. He is also working as a mentor in many social organizations and NGOs, more than 12 years for sustainability, technology, and organization development. He is also associated with Amar Seva Sangam and helping in many of the technology and other aspects of organization development. I welcome Viswanathan Ganeshan, sir, and take this session forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you put the presentation up, please? Put it on slideshow, please. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this important presentation and overview of social impact assessment for NGOs. Though the social impact has a lot of relevance from a larger perspective of environment, community, etc., I will focus my energies primarily for the social impact that needs to be taken up by the civil society organizations and NGOs. Okay, so going to the contents of this session, can you go to the next slide, please? So typically the session will take about 40-45 minutes. So besides the brief introduction and how it came into picture, the social impact assessment, and why do we need to do that, and what the scope should be covered in the social impact assessment whenever the NGO intend to do that, then the question is, what is the advantage of doing that? Why do we need to do? And then I will discuss on what are all the approach and methodology you need to follow, and what are the framework you should keep it in place. And there are various models of social impact assessment and how the social impact assessment process flow works. And then what are all the tools and technologies and process you need to make that happen. And then finally, how the impact reporting is done. Finally, how will you present it? And then what will be the impact reporting is for whom and why. And also, what are all the report content, how the report content should contain. So typically, and finally, of course, social impact is a new concept which has not been adopted by many social organizations, just coming up. What are the challenges there? And so whatever questions or concern people have, you can put it in the chat box. The presenter will answer that at the end of the session so that the flow is not impacted. Okay. So coming to the social impact assessment, it is nothing but we have to analyze, monitor and measure any program, what you do, social program, what is the intended impact, both positive and negative. There are a lot of initiatives the civil society organization do. They aim at a particular outcome or a result, but finally something else also will come, which is positive, as well as something else which is negative. So it will have to focus on both. The concept of social impact assessment came in 1969 with the National Environment Policy Act in the United States, where people are concerned with a lot of factories and mines happening and what kind of impact it's going to create on the society and community. That's how the concept came into picture. But however, large health programs of WHO and other initiatives happening over the past 2 decades is gaining momentum. India also, some of the organizations have started working on this. To give impetus to that, the social stock exchanges came into picture 2 years back, and more than 100 companies were registered on social stock exchanges to raise public awareness and funds, and through which they are compelled to go for a social impact assessment framework. Okay, the social impact assessment will lead to accountability to the stakeholders, transparency, and it will look at the organization with the will look at everything as an improved social focus. Any social organization is a bridge between the people who want to support the society and the people who need this support, particularly the community or the individual. So he plays like a middleman, but since he is going to handle the public money, he has a higher responsibility of ensuring that everything goes fine, and he is able to produce. This is the impact we have created. So that's the purpose of this. Can move to the next slide, madam. Yeah. So in terms of the objectives of the social impact assessment, so basically this will enable NGOs to take informed decision making whenever they scale up the programs, whenever they want to go into a new area of service. So it will definitely enable them to do that. It will also identify what are all the mitigation to take place if there are any challenges there and there are some potential risks are there, and they don't know how to manage it. So this will enable them to focus on this and maximize the benefits, means that provide benefits to people at the least cost. So that is what you will encounter. It will also facilitate process improvements, because we have done social impact assessment for the past 2 years, and we identify some of the areas where we believe we could improve. That will enhance the social benefit to the person or their community or the family. It will also result in you are doing various activities as a civil organization, how effective it is. Can you improve that? So those kind of things it will do, and whatever you are doing it, the social impact assessment is going to be an evidence-based mechanism, and that will enable a decision making. It's not somebody saying something based on this. You say, oh, this was the impact of the community. No, it has to be evidence. That's what even the social auditors look for. And the stakeholder confidence. So if you look at any social organization, there are multiple stakeholders. The direct beneficiary to which the social organization work for could be a student, a patient, or a parent, or a hospital, or a community, or it could be for a family, or it could be for a community, or you may work for the government. And you will also have partners with whom you work. So what is the social impact you are able to make when you're working with partners, as well as the society at large? If you are working on some initiative, let's say tree planting, what is the impact it is having on the environment? How much of CO2 emissions you do? What is the water efficiency you are bringing in? So besides your direct interventions and activities, what an NGO does, you also have to identify that what is that as an organization we give to an environment at large. It could be a sustainability, it could be beyond sustainability, and so this is what is the purpose of social impact assessment. So whenever you do a social impact assessment, can you put next slide, please? When you go to social impact assessment, you need to focus on certain areas. First one is you will focus on core activities, what you are doing it. Even within the core activities, you will have to decide for which activities I would like to do a social impact assessment. You will do 10 activities. You may believe that I may like to do only 6 out of that for social impact assessment. Rest of them may not be significant, so I would not like to focus. So the first focus should be on your core services. The next focus should be on stakeholder expectations. For example, government would have given you some funding or a grant, so you may mandate you to do that. Or a foundation would have given you a grant, and he would expect you to say that, okay, this is the investment we have made, we have supported you for 2 years, 3 years, what is the impact it has made? So it could be a specific stakeholder specific, or you may do some program, maybe immunization program in a community. So you would like to reach out to the communities and find out that what is the impact it has gone. Has the health improved? or we have done some intervention, the school enrollment has gone up, the children are able to do better. So, so, so the initial scope has to be very clear whenever any organization does. You have to identify which area of your activity you're going to bring in, and then focus on the stakeholder expectations. It can be mandated by a grant, or it may not be mandated by a grant. You might have gone to social allocation, that's possible. Or a particular project, they would have given funding, they would like to have a project social impact. So typically, so when you look at whenever we say impact, what do you mean? You mean that there will be parameters by which the physical well-being of a person would have improved, or his education would have improved, or the community with which you are working, their overall well-being would have improved, their economic conditions would have improved, or you may work on some areas where the environment could have been impacted, which means that, let's say, you're doing a tree planting drive in a community of 500 villages and you have planted 100,000 trees. So, which means that how it has improved in the CO2 emission realization, how much it has improved in the water table improvement. So there are various ways in which you need to figure out, if I plant so much of it, there are various tools available to do that. So typically you need to look at various dimensions. What is the dimension in which you want to measure the impact for short term and long term? That is for each individual organization to do. The organizational education, there are specific dimension you could look at. There are organizations in hunger, there will be something different. There are organizations in Indian knowledge system, they will have different. An organization in tribal, they will have different metrics. So each organization has to evolve what is that they are doing and what is that the stakeholder expect, which he needs to keep an eye on, that this is the reach I have done, this is the activity I have done, how it has improved. So the scope has to be pretty much the organization decide. The law doesn't mandate. So that is what is the clear one. When you do the scope, 2 dimension, your core activities, full or part of the activities, then the stakeholder expectation. These two you have to keep in mind. Okay. Yeah. So next slide, please. So next one is, why do we need to do that? What is the benefit you will get? Can you move to the next slide, ma'am? Yeah. So I have categorized this benefits into 2 areas. One is for the internal organization, for the management. You will identify, you think that you are doing a great job, but these social impact assessment and the key insights will tell you how effective your programs are and what are all the changes you need to do, both in terms of delivery of the program, the quality of output, or you get the quality of benefit what the people enjoy. Some of the examples could be like you are doing some skill development program. That alone may not be a great one, but out of the skill development program what you have conducted, how many people are able to get a job? That could be one of the important measurement we need to do. If they are not able to get a job, so what is it you need to do? So you will start thinking what more I should do to make this whole cycle complete. So the effectiveness of the program, it will also tell you the kind of social changes that happens after you have gone and intervened, whether the community is benefiting, the person to whom you are giving, is he able to live an independent living, or is he able to perform better in his education, or is he able to score better marks. So there are so many things you can measure it. The percentage of pass in that group, what you have given, have they done? Is there any outstanding people who have performed? And so these are all some of the benefits that will come. So this will indirectly also ensure some discipline within your organization on complaints to the processes, and ensure that people follow, people are able to meet their targets of whatever you have set, or a goal what you have set for this year or for a particular year. So some of those benefits will come automatically the moment you have a measurement framework. But the people who are actually delivering should be engaged, just not for delivery, but to identify that how this the effectiveness of their deliveries is making impact to the family or the person or the community. So automatically they will try to do that. Then as an organization, you'll be having a scaling your plans of taking your program to the next level, opening new programs. So it will also facilitate the organization to drive internal improvements on how I can do better based on the knowledge and the insights what you are getting from the social impact assessment. So when you want to meet the stakeholders, there are statutory compliances in case you have a CSR grant. A lot of CSR grantors, they look for, please give me an impact report. What happened? We funded this for 1 year, 2 years. So we need to find out how it has impact, how it has enabled them to lead a better living or a better education or a better sanitation or a better health. So those are some to do. And similarly, if you're listed at a stock exchange, social stock exchange, you can list it. As of now, about 100 NGOs have done it. So whether they go for a public issue or not, the moment you register, every year you have to file a socially audited social impact assessment report. There is no compulsion that every social impact assessment report needs to be audited, unless it is mandated by a grantor or a foundation who gives funds to you, because the socially audited report gives credibility rather than you preparing your own. And the SEBI has mandated that whenever you start an NSC or BSc, the social impact report has to be audited by a certified social auditor. So your grantors or your givers do. So it will also enable, once you are giving an impact report to a grantor or a company, it will motivate them to give you more because they see a benefit. If they give X amount of money and the society is getting 5x or 3x, they believe that that's the way they will add value to the society. So it will also motivate them to do more and more, and it also enhances credibility of the organization that money received is well spent. As you know, most of the social organizations, there is a concern that is the money we are giving, is it going to the right people? So whether it's an individual or a high net worth individual or a foundation or a company, if you are able to produce at the end of the year and give a summary, okay, this is my social impact, I'm sure most of the people will welcome, and that will induce them to uh, participate in more and more of your program. So that is what it will bring in. Okay. Yeah. Can you go to the next slide one? Yeah. So couple of ways in which you should approach social impact assessment is that it has to be participatory, in the sense that it's not that two people in the organization always think about it and others who are delivering services don't bother about it. This dimension of social impact has to be inculcated to the people who are actually doing the delivery, which will also mean that they'll be more interested in identifying that, okay, this children I'm giving a tuition, how is he performing well? Can I find out how many people are excelling? Or this children are given rehabilitation, is able to go to the school. So the stakeholders need to be engaged. The stakeholder could be your own person who is actually delivering it or the person who is receiving it. For example, if you are doing some home-based teaching, you may engage parents to be part of the study. So they will tell you how effective it has been and what's the area we need to improve. Their perceptions matter because many times we think we are doing a good job, but they will come back and say, can you do this better? It will help you. So the participative stakeholder involvement is going to be very important. And it will also, we need to be very transparent in the sense that whenever you produce a report, the external stakeholders as well as the auditors look for evidencing. Listen, how did you go about getting this data? Is it simply you just put some figure? So you need to be extremely careful because if you are producing a report which they believe is unrealistic or is not possible, then they come under scrutiny, proving to be wrong, then your credibility is lost. And you are lost those givers or the funders forever. Not only that, they will talk not so good about you to other organizations. So it's very important that the data what you are giving has to be a very transparent one, it's a real one, And it should be ethical data collection in the sense that whenever you're dealing with any data of your stakeholders, you must have their consent. Or if you're doing a survey, you must have their consent that they are consenting to this survey, so that you don't put any data without their knowledge or things like that. So those are very, very important. And again, evidence is more important because the evidence, first of all, you need to be convinced that you are producing the right impact measurement. And when you communicate also, you're pretty much clear and showcase that how this data is very credible and how this impact can be verified and measurable by anybody. Yeah. So these are all some of the elements. Go to the next slide, ma. This is the most important part of the social impact assessment. The first one is every organization has to figure out what is their measurement indicators, which is nothing but the metrics. So you need to know what is the short-term impact we are make. I give tuition to, let's say, 1,000 people, but that doesn't mean anything. A simple number is 1,000 people, but what is the immediate outcome? How many people passed? How many percentage scored? How many are meritorious? How many are all India first? So you need to know, each organization has to know for the scope of service what they do, which should be the core activities or a stakeholder mandated project. You need to be clear. You have to define what are the metrics I am going to measure, which will convince me that it has made a social impact. Simply saying that I planted 1,000 trees doesn't mean anything. Also saying that 5,000 people I treated means nothing. No point in saying I given coaching to 100,000 students. That means nothing. That's only a statement, but that's not the impact. So it's very important for people, the organization, to sit together and understand what is the measurement indicator or metrics I'm going to focus, what's going to be a short term, which will be outcome, what is going to be a long term, which can be measured in a period of 3 years, 5 years, or maybe beyond. Okay. So once you are determined that, actually this has been done in the sequence, once you determine that, you need to find out, to capture those measurement indicators, what is that I have now? Am I organized well? So you do a baseline assessment of yourself. And okay, this is what I want, this is what I have. I don't have this data, so how do I capture that? Which means in your process or in your software application, you have to bring in those dimensions. For example, the economic conditions of your stakeholders, the people to whom you service, you might not have captured, but it is very important for the external world to know that if you are, let's say, training 1,000 people, how many are economically backward? How many are so that will clearly give a picture to the person who's looking at it, out to a stakeholder. Okay, these guys are focusing on people, more than 80% of their beneficiaries are economically vulnerable. They all deserve support. So that is the kind of baseline assessment you have to do what you have. Then after that, you need to find out how are we going to do this data. Is it going to come out on application, or am I going to do a perception survey, 6 months or 1 year, or I may have will I be able to call some of the focus group? Could be a government to whom I support, or could be a university which I support. You get their feedback in terms of that. What is that our programs have impacted the way in which their students study, or the way in which their patients improve, or the way in which the beneficiaries improve their economic well-being. So you will go ahead and get those data, and it could be a survey, it could be a focus to group discussions across teams. That is possible. Once you get all that, you do a data, capturing data, you aggregate the data. Then once you aggregate, you will be able to analyze. Then you get the key insight. The key insights are nothing but the key finding. What does it mean? Does it mean that, okay, I have done this program, this is effective, but I believe there's a scope for improvement. If I have a scope for improvement, what is the project I should take? So from the key insights, any NGO should come out with projects. At the end of every year, you will say, I'm going to do this 2-3 projects. One of the key things could be, for example, You have done a skill development training program or vocational training to people, but you have trained thousands of people, but 30% is only getting jobs. So if 70% is not getting jobs, how do we make them get the job? So you should have a project plan. Okay, can I conduct a job mela, or can I call the local employees and tell them, look, I have people who have been trained, they're well equipped to do that, or find out from those local organizations, what skills they need, and can you upskill them with some of this additional data. So these are all some of the things you will get it. So the key insights is very, very important. And then finally, you will present all that in a reporting and then present it to your auditor for validation, then this, approval, which means that this calls for internal SIA team. The internal SIA team will be exclusive, depends on the size of the organization. If it's too big, you may need separate teams. But a small organization, you'll identify some of the people within your organization who are capable of doing some of those things. Okay, right. So can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so I just try to put some, this is not exclusive or exhaustive, but this is the way you'll go about. So when you look at some of the metrics, some of them would be a quantitative, which means a number. Some of them qualitative means it will be a perception. Depends on the actual feedback, what you get from the stakeholders. It could be a comment, or it could be a statement of request, or it could be expectations. So basically, once you do that, then you will have to put your tools or the process in place to capture these data. You can also look at the economic monetization, means economic benefits of your social impact. For example, if you're treating some patients free or subsidized, if you have done, let's say, 10,000 sessions in a year, if this patient would have done it outside, you would have spent X amount of money. If you are not charging, which means somebody is funding you for that, the kind of saving what happens to the family is quite significant. Similarly, you may give free tuition. So if outside people are charging 300 rupees per month and you are given the tuition free to thousands of students, you can say that this is the value of economic value we have brought into the family. So those are some of the monetization you can do. Of course, there are advanced concepts like social return on investments and all that. This is again a separate subject where you need to, like you do a financial audit, you do a social audit and bring out a social balance sheet, where you quantify quite a number of this. I have attended some of the certification programs. That's quite complex it can be done only for a large, well-settled organizations. But otherwise, simple economic savings, what you have done, that is going to be easy to do that. Each one has its own merits and demerits of doing that. Typically, this kind of social impact, when a small organization, it could take 3 months, but a large organization it can take 6 months. But however, for organization to keep these programs live and getting it as part of the regular process of delivery, mean that you could already started looking at that by your own team delivering, and you may start aggregating on a monthly and quarterly basis, start looking at quarterly or half-yearly, which means that at the end of the year, you could already known, okay, this is what it is. Once you do that, it will also help you to present this to your funders. We are going for a new grant proposal for next year. Simply these data, you can take it and present it to your grantor for the particular initiative. Okay, this is what is the impact it has created. You gave us last year. So that way, the data collections, if it is regularly happening, periodic basis, monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, then it becomes very easier. So ideally, this kind of a data framework has to be set up, and teams should be trained to focus on that on a periodic basis. That's what you need to do. And you can do that aggregation maybe 6 months a year, quarterly or annually. So it depends on the way. If you are having hundreds and thousands of 100,000 students and all that, is humanly impossible to do it manually. So you need to have automated systems, which means that these data are captured from whichever applications you have, then gets bundled into some data aggregation framework, and from there you take the reports. So it depends on again the size of the organizations. Yeah. So So this is qualitative, quantitative, and economic monetization benefit. These are all some of the methods you can follow. Go to the next slide. Yeah. So typically there are various models are there. The popularly followed model is theory of change, which is nothing but a cause and effect analysis, where the inputs are the resources what you engage, the number of people, your assets, your capital employed, or your many things what makes your delivery of services happen. Then you get your outputs. The outputs are nothing but the numbers, maybe a number of replanted, number of students treated, or number of training sessions I created, or number of community programs I did it, or number of classes I conducted. These are all very numbers. It doesn't mean anything. So when you look at the outcomes, your impact measurement indicators comes in. So what is the short-term benefit? What can be quantified? That is an outcome. The impact is generally little long-term, maybe more than 3 years, etc. Some of the impact, like monetization, very easily you can find out because directly it saves money on the pocket of the people. Similarly, there are programs which government is supposed to do, government like immunization. Government is not able to do, you are doing on their behalf. Either government may give a grant or somebody else may give a grant. So you should be able to figure out after immunization how many children did not get that disease. So those are some of the impact parameters you can easily find out. So this is popularly followed. Then there are sustainable livelihood where you engage yourself with the community. So let's say you are mentoring some self-help groups. So you may say, okay, I will engage the 700 self-help groups, work with them and find out that how our advocacy and intervention helped them save more family savings or improve their livelihood or monthly income or their health indicator, etc. So it could be a sustainable livelihood based approach also you can take it. Then there are something called 3Ps, which is done only for a specific program or a project. It will be a project-driven goal and project-driven impact. At the beginning of the project, you decide that okay, for this project, this is the impact I'm going to aim. So when you do that, you will also look at the positive and negative. You visualize something else might have happened. So all those things will come. So the 3Ps are literally for a specific project or for a particular mission or a particular grant. It could be the organization may not follow social impact assessment, but may restrict themselves to only few projects. That is also possible. Social return on investment, I suggested it is again like ISO certification. You need to go for the certification. You need quite a bit of more work to do. If you do social impact assessment, probably in 2-3 years, the next jump should be a SROI framework, which means that you produce a social balance sheet, like a financial balance sheet. Okay? So the participatory rural assessment is again community-led, which means that the community as a stakeholder participate in your assessment of impact. You just don't do it, you make them do as part of this. Then very large programs done, something called Organization of for Economic Development Forum. It's a combination of about 38 countries, which focus on some of the development models, which is done for very, very large programs, which is done on a global level or pan-country level, things like that. Not relevant for an NGO actually, but this is one of the models which is widely used, where they identify some various parameters. Like you would have seen the development goals of WHO, and so those are some of the things they follow OECD framework. Okay, but typically for us, for NGOs in particularly in our country, 3Ps, the projects program-based social impact is the good one. I go to 3F change for many initiatives what you do, or community-based programs, community-based, community-led or community-assisted social impact assessment you can do. Okay, because these are all add credibility the moment you engage the community. Okay. Yeah. So can you go to the next one? So in terms of doing it, small organizations you should do by yourself. You only need mentors like us or some other professionals or the auditors who can get you to do that. Particularly the internal can drive the whole thing. There are some organizations where they have internal and external team. Do it again depends on the size of the organization. Outsourced external agencies, this is done by normally MNCs and big foundations like Reliance Foundations or Vodafone Foundations. or Airtel foundations and all that, because they will get the larger global grants. So they all look at outsourcing to E&Y, PwC kind of companies. Or there are some smaller consulting firms who focus on that. I mean, they say we don't have time to do that. So, and if the number of beneficiaries is very large, pan India, pan global. For example, some of the foundations like HCL does tribal area education, going into millions of students. Those are all things can be done by external agency only by fully integrated automated model. But for small NGOs, yes, you can do it yourself. You can take help of a little bit consultants to make things happen. Okay. So can you go to next slide, ma? Yeah, typically things have changed popularly. So you identify for various initiatives what you do, what are the inputs, what resources, what activities, and what are the things you do. Then you quantify the outputs in terms of numbers. Then you figure out in your outcomes what is the short-term impact I have created. Could be a direct impact. Could be, for example, the direct impact you would have treated some of the patients in your clinic. That is a direct impact to that patient. But indirectly, you could have influenced some monetary saving or a stress relief for their parents, which means that's the indirect impact. So if you survey all let's say 1,000 parents, and they will tell you that how their cost of treatment has come down. That means you saved money, or how does it release their stress so that they're able to pursue their livelihood instead of spending time on giving this treatment to that patient. So there'll be direct and direct metrics will be there. So medium and impact is medium and long range, 3 years and above. Because some of the benefits you can't measure in 1 year, it is too difficult. It may take 8 years, get to 5 years. So some of those things will happen like that. Then it can be a quantitative, qualitative, perceptive. You interview some 10 partners, they will tell you what you are good at, what you are not good at in your delivery. The quality of people, the quality of services, the knowledge level of the services, what you give, they will tell you. So that way, these are all some of the things for every initiative you need to figure out what this metrics is. That's going to be very, very key for all of you. Yeah, you go to the next slide. Yeah, so then coming to so whatever I explained to you, if you look at it, this is how a framework, social impact to set it up. So you need to be clear why you want to do social impact in your NGO. What are the goal? Is it to satisfy internally or to satisfy any external stakeholders or your partners? Most important thing is again the second one, the scope and the KPI, the performance metrics, what you want to measure. It could be output or outcomes and impact. These two are very, very critical. This will drive rest of the activities. Then you find out what is the stakeholders. The internal management wants it, or the grantor wants it, or the government wants it, or statutorily we are required to do that. Then you look at sample size and find out, okay, suppose if you have 20,000 people, is it necessary that you need to survey all the 20 people? Need not. Whether you do with 20,000 people or 20% of them, the result is going to be same. The skewness is not going to be very heavy. So you can do 10%, 25%. 25% sampling is considered ideally in any survey organization. So you may look at sampling, and based on sampling, you may look at the perceptions and get the feedbacks. Okay. And to do all this, you need various templates. You may have to develop apps, or you may have to develop Google Sheets, or whatever it is, because you need to ensure the data flow and capture on a regular basis by the people who deliver the services. So you have to make those happen. Once that happens, you do that analysis and aggregation every 6 months. If it is too small, every quarter, definitely every year, anyhow you have to do. Once you do the aggregations, you get a lot of graphics, you get a lot of graphs, you get a lot of indicators and trends. Then based on that, you analysis and you come out with the key insights. What is that these trends suggest? Where is that we need to improve? What is the perception of the stakeholders? And then finally, you prepare a report and putting everything together. Okay, so that's what you will do. And if it is required to be audited by, which is requested by your grantor or a foundation, you need to give, you have to, once you prepare the report, you will present it to the auditor, he will come and verify, he will do sampling to check whether the data what you are giving is correct or incorrect, etc. And besides, not only your core services, even some of the ones like environment, CSG, they call it. Even the ESG impact, you should be able to figure it. That's the organization level. What is my contribution to the environmental society? You could do that because you will do a lot of capacity building activities, which is not directed at one individual or one family or one village, but maybe people at large. So some of those impact, definitely you can bring that out. So this is the way in which any organization has to organize themselves. So this process flow is, once you do that, then it happens every year. And then if management has to only see the reports and take corrective actions. It's very important for people who actually drive the programs and projects in an NGO. Okay. Can you go to next slide, ma'am? Yeah, so various tools, what you may need it, you may need some of the software applications or the extractions you may have to do. The manual or the application from application to APIs, you can take your data back. It could be even manual record, then you'll do surveys, the survey results, then survey results analysis, then focus group discussions. Then finally, as and when you deliver a service, for example, if you do a training, at the end of the training, you take a survey, like this program, there's a rating. So you figure out how effective you are, how effective I have learned. So those are some of the things you need to do. It is not one figure you take from some particular data and put it. It's a multiple dimensional tools. You need to use it to make this happen. Okay. Next slide, ma'am. Yeah. So this we discussed already. So basically, when you do an impact reporting, it will cover your direct input, direct impact of your activities, what you do. Then it will do system impact of large population, like I told ESG, or the community or to the government what you are doing it. So may not be a specific individual, but your contribution to a larger cause or a larger crowd, you should be able to do that. So when you do a presentation, the highlights of the social impact assessment could be in an annual report, and it can be a specific project-based report. You will send it to your stakeholder because he wants it. And if similarly, any government wants it, you need to do that. And then it's prepared by the internal team, it's audited by the external auditor. You can take external consultants to, validate this report and make it a presentable one. The key important thing is that you can do everything. Finally, if you are not able to present and bring out the impact, it's not going to help anybody. So that's something very, very, first year is going to be difficult, but next year onwards, I think you will improve. Even in our organization, last year we did it, but this year I am not doing it, but I am asking others to do it. So they understand what is to be done and they are all trained to handle that. And except that, as I told you, you have to form internal teams to manage this. So can you go to the next slide? We have two more slides to finish. So typically, a report will look like this. Typically about 60 to 70 pages it will come. So you will generally give executive summary in 3 or 4 pages. You will talk about the organization, what do you do? Then you tell you what are the scope you are covering and which are the stakeholders for which it is impacted and what methods and tools. This is basically about how did you go about capturing these data and how it can be auditable. Then you will say that these are all the impact measurement metrics. I'm going to look at it. And so the key, so basically, once you do that, so you will have a social impact report and your environment report could be there. Then it could be perception surveys from surveys you have done. So survey results also will be another social impact dimension you will do. Based on all this 6, 7, 8, you will say, okay, key insights. So what does it look like to me? What is it they are saying that? What is the area we have done well? What's the area we are not done well? What are the area we are not done well? What is that I should do? So you come out with some key recommendations. And that results in projects to be done in the subsequent years. So you come to the action plan. Okay, these are all the 5 projects I need to do, improve things. And then in the report, you also say if the auditor wants to do audit trail, how will you go about doing it? So you'll have to give pictures and any assumptions and calculations you have done it. It will be easy for auditor to know that how you have done it. Because when he comes out the audit, he will first ask for the report. Then you will go back to the source data. That's what he would do. So, and then you just conclude it. So typically 60 to 70 pages depends on the program. The small company, small organization, maybe a 20-30 page report also is enough. Okay. Yeah. So coming to the challenges, there is no written standard for how to do social impact assessment. There is like ISO or CMMI, there is no such frameworks available. Each one is free to do whatever they feel like. Okay. Um, Most of the NGOs, social organization, they don't give importance to data capturing in a proper way. Very data are inaccurate or data are not uniform. If you have 5 initiatives, each initiative they come out with some different data, not unified. So it's going to be extremely difficult in the first few years to align and realign everything to capture it correctly in those source levels. And the teams are new to that, they are not ready and they are too busy, they don't know, they don't care to spend a lot of time on this. And there are lack of tools and technologies, and there are interdependencies between various activities, so that doesn't come out. Each one believe that they are only right. So those are all some of the things. And again, people do at the end of the year or only when somebody asks for it. So you forget what you have done. So short timeline, you can't do it in 2 months, 3 months and all, you will do a very bad job. So you need to have a lot of structured way to handle this. And believe me, there's a cost of measuring this. You will have teams who have to spend time on this. So there's a cost for that. So which means that you can budget this cost. And there are organizations who are ready to fund you for carrying out social impact assessment. So if you are saying to carry out social impact assessment is going to take 10 lakhs to me in a year, that people are ready to fund it. So all the more reason every organization should strive towards social impact assessment, whether your law mandates it or your grantors or stakeholders mandate it. So it's going to definitely help you. We have seen it, how it is helping us. So I'm sure most of you should be willing to look at this seriously. Yeah, coming to the last slide, ma. Yeah, so basically what NGOs need to do is that you have to get together. Key stakeholders has to see that, okay, how do we do that? What are the key measurement parameters which is relevant for us to measure and tell the world? And then you have to identify teams to train them. And then you have to identify how are we going to do that? Who is going to do that? Do we need external consultant to help? Then come out with tools and templates. Then you have a project plan to do that. Project plan means 3 months, 6 months, who is going to do? And somebody will drive that. Once it is clear, then you can kick off this project. It is doable. We have done that. So that's what it is. So I think with this, I'm closing the presentation. So if people ask for any questions or queries, I'm happy to do that. The contact numbers are given here. So some of it you can screenshot. And if you have any doubts on implementation in your organization, you can always reach out to me. We do it pro bono for all of you. Because we want more and more people to adopt this and benefit from this exercise for their organization. Thank you very much. Let me know any questions are come.
No, sir. Still now there is no question in the chat box.
Yeah, if people have any question, please raise your voice, because they are going to have one more survey now. The same survey they will give you now. Let answer that. So 2 minutes. Any questions?
Sir, I'm Sublakshmi. Please
Yeah.
explain about the SRIO, the concept of SRIO.
Madam, social return on investment is nothing but so basically you need to identify a lot of costs what you incur and what is the return. The cost means even if you are having volunteers, for example, the volunteers' time you have to cost. Today you may not be doing it. So there are a lot of stakeholders, like including a vendor who may have to involve. Then the benefit is not only this social benefit, and then other benefits what has accrued to the organization. So it is it's a detailed procedure. The organizations, in my opinion, only very few organizations are SRO in the country. So I would not. It's a separate subject by itself. You need to have people who are certified in SRI to do that. So I will not recommend that for any organization who are just not even having simple social impact measurement. So that is only for very matured organization. You should go for SRO.
Thank you, sir. You mentioned about the tools. With the tools we use that for the SRIO.
No, SRI, there's no tool. It's like a CMMI framework or ISO framework. You need to create a SRI framework. That project may take 1 year for you to do that. It will have many components of the social impact assessment also, but few more will come.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Very nice explanation.
Thank you, sir. We have another question in a chat box. How to provide STGS surveys?
Pardon?
How to provide STGS survey?
Yeah, so if you want to do survey first, you need to identify what is the feedback you want from those group, the receiving groups. You can use a lot of tools like Survey Monkeys there, or you can Power BI you can do, or you can do simple Google Forms. And then based on that survey results, you can use manually or you could use tools like Power BI to do that. The key thing is selecting a sample out of your population. If it is going to be 100, 200, 500 people, you can do all of them, no problem. If it is going to be 5,000 people, you don't need to do 5,000 people. Whether you ask 5,000 people or you are going to ask 1,000 people, the results are going to be the same. It's not going to be much different. So 10 to 25% is a good sample. 25% is a good sample. But you can use your own tools. You can create even a Google form for that. It depends on the groups. There may be multiple groups which you may have to survey. Maybe a government officers could be one, your parents could be one, communities could be one, students could be one. So it depends on that. You may have multiple questionnaires which is relevant, which brings out the efficiency and the benefit what they got and the inefficiency what they identify in our delivery. So both are important. You have to look at positive as well as negative. You have to ask. Very important. Then only you will know that how you can improve.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your valuable perspective and practical knowledge and clear guidance. That will greatly benefit the participant in their professional and organizational practices. Anyone have any other question? Okay. If you have any question, please put it in a chat box.
You can release the link for your closing feedback.
Yeah, sure, sir. Okay, sir. So we truly appreciate the time, effort, and expertise shared with us today, which have contributed significantly to the success for this webinar. So, dear participant, post test and feedback link is now being shared in the chat box. We kindly request you to complete it before the end of the session. Those who are completed the pre-test and the feedback form will get the e-certificates. So, please take your time to complete the forms. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So post test link is shared in the chat box. Please check it out.
நீங்க இதை கொஞ்சம் பார்த்துட்டு சொல்லுங்க. ஓகே, அடுத்த ஸ்டூடெண்ட் வர சொல்லுங்க. அடுத்து யாரை வர சொல்லுங்க? ஹலோ.
Yes, ma'am.
ஸோ எனி கொஸ்டின்ஸ் வந்திருக்குதாப்பா?
Yes, ma'am. There are 2 questions. Sir will already cleared that, ma'am.
ஓகே. ஸோ போஸ்ட் டெஸ்ட்.
I will already share the link, ma'am. So can we close the session, ma'am?
Okay, okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for joining with us and taking this session. It's a very important session for mostly the our program managers and the organization leaders to think, and also for the other staff to understand the value of what they are doing and how it impact not only for the children but also for the organization. It's very important. Thank you so much, sir, for joining with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I thank all the participants for joining us today and for their active participation. We look forward to your continued association with our upcoming initiatives. Thank you and have a pleasant day again.
I also request all participants to visit Amar Seva Sangam with their families to see what we are doing it, including the social impact assessment framework what we have. So it will give you much more insights on how to go about it. Thank you. I am signing off, Ma. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.